again, we're going to be covering the topic of digital media, and we're going to talk about how it can be a gateway to evangelism. And so I'm really excited tonight because our special guest is our Communications Director, Corey Wright. And so he has been with the BCNE just a few months, but I welcome Corey to our webinar, first one that Corey and I have done together, and know that it's a topic that many of you, again, have asked for. So Corey's going to appear, and there he is. Hey, Corey, it's good to have you tonight.
Yeah, I'm excited.
So I am going to I'm going to let you share your screen so you can tell us all about yourself and launch in. I'm going to disappear and I'll watch the chat, and then we'll connect at the end as you have the questions. How's that?
Awesome. Thanks, Andy.
All right.
All right. Hey, everyone. Pull up my notes. So yeah, let me go ahead and go to our next slide. So a little bit about me before we get started. So my name is Corey Wright. I'm originally from Arkansas, but I've lived in New England for about a decade now. And so I moved up originally to do a gap year after college of campus ministry. Now here I am 10 years later, still here on that gap year. But I moved up to do a year of campus ministry and then transitioned to church staff at a church plant in Worcester, Massachusetts the following year. And so I've been still on staff there. So I've been on staff at the church on Seven Hills in Worcester since our first year of launching. At Seven Hills, my role has changed almost annually over the years, but my roles always included all things digital media. So social media, graphic design, website, all that kind of stuff has always kind of been under my umbrella. But these things were never my primary role. And so I just want to speak to you tonight and let you know that I understand what it is or what it means to try to do all of these things when it's not your full-time role, it's not your full-time focus. It can seem like a lot to juggle, but I definitely know what it's like to, do these things when they're kind of on the back burner, because in ministry we have a lot more important things to do. But these things I will talk about tonight, this is a really important thing, but it doesn't have to take up all your time. And there's somebody sharing some resources about that. But yeah, so I've been, like Sandy said, I've been on staff at the BCNE since February. So I transitioned to part-time role at the church, and I'm part-time at the BCNE now as well. And so I am the Communications Director. And so again, this actually is the focus of my role here at the BCNE, is all things digital, graphic design, website, social media, all that kind of stuff. And so, yeah, I'm excited to dig in tonight and get started. So let's so what does digital media have to do with evangelism? It kind of maybe seems like there's a disconnect there, but having at least a basic online social presence is really crucial in today's society to connect people with your church. Just my short time in this role, I've learned that there are many, many churches in our network that don't have any online presence, no website, no Facebook page, no anything. And you may be one of them tonight, and I hope that after we leave this evening that won't be the case for very long. But really, your online presence is the front door for people who are interested in your church. Sandy and I were actually at a meeting earlier today, and we were chatting about this, that, if you're going to go to a restaurant or going to go visit a museum or do things like that, you're going to Google it, right? That's just like the normal thing that we do now. We want to get a little preview of what we're getting ourselves into. And so just like that, people are going to want to search for our church. And when, they get an invite, even if it's a personal invitation, they're still going to want to get a little taste of what they're walking into, especially for a first time churchgoer, walking into a church for the first time and having no idea what you're getting into can be really intimidating. And so if they can't get at least a little bit of a taste of who you are, what you're about, what it's like to be a part of your church, it's going to take a lot of personal invitation for them to come. And so and they may not if it's not in their comfort zone. And so just having a basic online presence, this doesn't have to be, again, something that you have a full-time staff working on, you're generating all this content and you've got a studio and a podcast and all this stuff, but just having a basic presence online is really crucial. And so online tools also are needed to keep your congregation engaged. So there's definitely the evangelistic aspect, the reaching the masses, reaching people where they're at, but it's also where your people are at, where the people in your church are at. So you may have them in the building for an hour a week. So social media, website, things like this are ways to keep them engaged throughout the week as you're as they're living their lives, doing their thing. They're online, they're on social media, and so we can be there and engaging them. And so just a couple of statistics, that 72% of US adults use social media of some sort. And on Facebook alone, 70% of Facebook users are on the platform daily. So even if you personally aren't a big social media user, it's a vital way to meet people where they're at. Like me personally, I like social media isn't really a personal thing I do a lot. I don't post a lot of personal things, but I do recognize that in ministry, like this is where people are, and so a lot of the time I am spending on social media is in ministry. And so I'm not going to really spend a lot more time trying to convince you that there is a need for an online presence, because I'm assuming that because you came to this webinar that you kind of agree with that and you want to work on that. And so we'll just dive right in. So I just kind of want to go through an overview of what we're going to talk about tonight. So kind of got four parts. So the first part is content. And so again, I'm assuming you don't have a graphic designer on your staff, but before we even get into websites and social media, we need content to publish on those. And so we're going to specifically talk about graphics and talk about pictures. And then I'll move into websites. I'll share some different platforms. Well, this is going to be a really like resource intensive webinar. I'm going to be sharing a lot of free or cheap resources for digital media stuff. And so again, that resource sheet that Sandy shared has a lot of links and names of different platforms and stuff on here. So yeah, going to be over platforms and then some general design tips. Then we'll move into social media, again, some general advice and strategies, and then we'll wrap up at the end and have some time for Q&A. So let's start with graphics. And so one thing that I am going to refer to time and time again during this webinar is Canva. And so if you've never heard of Canva, I would highly, highly encourage you to check it out. I'm actually doing this presentation in Canva right now, just to kind of show off a little bit of what it can do. So Canva is basically an online design platform for all things digital media, social media, again, presentations. You can do websites, which I'll show you here in a minute. You can do resumes, you can do reports, you can do anything that has a graphical component, you can do in Canva. And so two good things about Canva for churches. So one is that Canva has tons and tons and tons of templates for all of these things. And so you don't have to design things from scratch. And so I used to do a lot of my design stuff in Photoshop, and you open it up and you have a blank white square, and then you have to fill all the content in yourself. The great thing about Canva is that you can search for templates. They have tons and tons of templates, and you can pull them in, you can customize them, change them up, add your content in, and it helps you have a really good starting place for design work. So if design isn't your thing, you can really just change a couple of things and have stuff that looks really great. The second really big benefit of Canva is that they have a pro version, which is normally paid, as a version you have to pay for to get some different features, but it is free for nonprofits. And so if you're a registered nonprofit, then which most of us are as churches, you can get the pro version for free and utilize every feature that they have. And so this is a great, easy to use, really flexible, free platform that would encourage you all to check out. And there's also, so that's kind of starting at the base layer. It's free. Then kind of move into a couple of other recommendations. And so the next one I would recommend checking out is Church Motion Graphics. And so that's a platform, it's a subscription service. So we actually use this at my church. So you get a few things with your subscription. You get motion backgrounds. And so that's originally why we started subscribing, because they put out new sets of motion backgrounds for like your worship slides all the time. And so that's part of what you get with your subscription. But then they've also over the years added slide templates and social media post templates. And so what's really great about Church Motion Graphics is it's designed for churches. So it's Canva is designed for everybody. And so there's definitely, you can search and find some templates that work for churches, but everything that you're going to find in church motion graphics is designed for churches. And so I'll show you in a second. I'll go on their website and kind of show you some of the content that they have. Another similar service I just learned about, I don't have any personal experience using it, but I've just looked around on their website. It's called Sunday Social. Again, it's they don't do the motion backgrounds, but they have sermon, announcement slide templates, as well as social media posts and graphics and things like that. And so yeah, so again, I would definitely start with Canva. I would say all of you, I would recommend right now, if you don't have one, go ahead and get Canva, get it set up with your nonprofit. It usually takes like a day to verify that you have a nonprofit, that you qualify for the free pro version, and start there. But then again, I would look into some of these other platforms if you're looking for something more. And then one little kind of hack that I'll kind of show you right now is also I would encourage you, if you don't want to necessarily pay for something like Church Motion Graphics, is that you can actually browse their content, get inspiration for posts that you can kind of recreate in Canva. And so that's actually what I'm going to do right now, is just kind of show you an example of that. And so let me get out of this real quick. And we're going to go into Church Motion Graphics. So this is their website here. This is what you would look like before you ever log in. So I'm going to show you, like, I'm not even going to log into my account, but I would just go to Browse Media. And then, so you can kind of see some of the stuff that they have available. So they have CMG packs, which are kind of like themes of, so I have like a countdown timer and like an announcement slide and motion backgrounds that all kind of go together. You have motion graphics, slide templates, social graphics. So we'll click over in social graphics. We'll kind of scroll down. So they have like set lists. So you can kind of customize these for so if you had like your worship set list, you can do that. So we're going to scroll down here. I saw the other day that they have some Mother's Day posts. And so let's say like, oh, that's a really good idea. We should post something on Facebook for Mother's Day. So you can go down here and find just kind of something you like, maybe the words that you like. So what's the best advice that your mom has given you? Like that, okay, that'd be a cool social post. You could post that, have a little bit of engagement, some back and forth conversation. But again, so say you don't pay for Church Motion Graphics, but you like that, then you can just hop over to Canva. And then you're going to go here. You're in social media. You want to make a social media post. So you want to make an Instagram post. Create a blank Instagram post. And that'll load up here. And you go over to design. And so here's all these templates for social media posts. And then, so that one had flowers on it, the one we were kind of getting our inspiration from. So we'll look at flowers, find one that we like here. So, okay, that one looks good. And then what did we say? What's the best advice your mom has given you? So then we'll pop over here, back to here. And then what's best advice your mom given you? And then we will widen that out a little bit. Maybe get that on 2 lines. And then drag and drop to where it's centered. And then there we go. I have a social media post, so I can download that, save it, post it to Facebook. Took me, 30 seconds to pull together. So that's just kind of want to show you that, just a quick little tiny preview, but just of how easy it is really to just create a nice looking graphic, really simple. It doesn't have to be, you don't have to have a graphic design degree. You don't have to have fancy special software. You can just log in on Canva, type some words out and save it. So that's just like, again, just a little quick preview of all that Canva can do. But again, they can do so many things, and they have everything already the right size. So you don't have to think, okay, what dimensions do I need for whatever? They're already done for you. So let me find my presentation again, and then is that all right? So moving on from graphics, I want to talk about pictures for a second. So pictures are really important for your church. So there's plenty of websites and things where you can get stock photos from for free, but that's I'm using them in this presentation right now. But in general, the content that you're putting on social media, that you're putting on your website, people want to see your people. They want to see your church. Again, we're trying to have an online presence for our churches on the internet, and so we want our church to be represented. We don't want these people that don't look anything like our congregation on our people. We want to actually people want to see what your church is like, and so I would really encourage you to focus on getting some pictures of your people, of your church. So we're going to go through some tips for that. And so first of all, phones are great these days. A newer iPhone can make some really nice pictures. And so I would encourage you too, that if you think like, oh, we can't do photography because we don't have a photographer, we don't own fancy cameras, whatever. All you need is a nice phone, honestly, to get some good pictures. And so don't let the fact that like you're not a photographer scare you away from trying to get good pictures for your church. The second thing I would say, just some general tips, is to delegate. Delegate to someone else in your church. So maybe this isn't your thing. Maybe photography just isn't your thing at all. But is there someone in your church who is? And not someone necessarily who is a professional photographer. If you do have a professional photographer in your church, you should definitely utilize them. But if you don't, that's fine. Find somebody who just is a little bit more creative, that maybe has an eye for that. This is a great kind of thing to get like a teenager involved with, empower them in some ministry to just, hey, run around with your phone and take some good pictures of our services, of our ministries, different things that we can use on social media on our website. I'm going to talk about that kind of time and time again too. Delegate. If these things aren't your thing, delegate. Maybe you're watching this and you're the person that's getting delegated to, and that's fine too. But definitely feel free to delegate these things out, including hiring a photographer. And so again, that's going to be some upfront costs. But another thing I would recommend is to consider, is it worth the investment to hire a photographer to come on a Sunday to your services, take pictures of your services, go to your Sunday school classes, take some pictures of your kids, get some headshots of your staff, different things like that. And paying for a morning, a few hour session to get a bank of photos that you can pull from, that you can use from, could be really beneficial. And so I would recommend considering that as well. But assuming you're taking your pictures yourself, I'm going to kind of give just a few general photo tips. So one would be horizontal over vertical. And so especially if you're taking a picture with your phone, make sure you're holding it like this. That's general advice. So for website, a lot of social media stuff, just general things that you might use your pictures for, you're going to want horizontal photos. The exception to this would be if you're taking pictures specifically to post on social media stories, so like Facebook or Instagram stories, where they take up the full real estate, where people are watching them holding their phones like this, then you would want to take them the other way. And so, for instance, I generally, if I'm not in childcare or in the sound booth or whatever at our church on Sundays, I'll take some pictures to post on our stories, and I will take vertical photos. But in general, take horizontal over vertical photos. Second would be people over buildings. And so another one of our things that we do at the BCNE is that we post prayer requests from churches. We post it on our social media. Our staff also prays for churches. But as we're gathering these prayer requests, we usually ask for pictures to go along with the posts. And either we don't get pictures because our churches aren't taking pictures, or we get pictures of buildings. And that's great and fine, but that doesn't give you really any idea of what's being prayed about, of the people, of, again, if somebody is looking into your church, they can drive by and see what the building's like, right? But they want to know who you are as the church. Again, our church is the people, right? We're not the building, we're the people in the building. And so it's not that it's a bad thing at all to have pictures of your building. We have pictures of our building on our website too, but in general, you want pictures of people, because people want to see real people that they can connect with in your churches. Next would be faces over crowds. So just again, just like a picture of people is more engaging than a picture of a building. A picture of a couple of people where you can see their faces is a lot more engaging than standing in the back of a room and getting a crowd shot at the back of people's heads. And so in general, try to focus in on a moment rather than, again, there's definitely value in getting like, hey, look how many people came to this event and getting a big crowd shot. But the pictures that people are really going to connect with and resonate with is a picture of two people laughing and having a conversation, is a picture of people shaking hands, meeting each other for the first time. And so really look for those moments in a Sunday service or at an event where you're capturing faces, you're capturing expressions, you're capturing emotions. And along with that is candid over posed. So getting those people that are interacting with each other, that are having real emotions, real expressions on their faces, rather than, a group of people standing, smiling, saying 1, 2, 3 cheese in front of a camera. Those pictures are going to be a lot more engaging and you're going to get a lot more use out of them. So let's transition now from pictures to websites. And so before we get into like platforms, I just kind of want to talk about website essentials. And so these are kind of 5 things that I think are essential for a basic church website. There's plenty more things that a church website can have, but I would say that these are the top 5 things that people are looking for when they visit your church website. And so one would be when you meet and where you meet really kind of go together. But that's the biggest thing that people are looking for on your church website is if they're wanting to come to a service, they're going to check you out. They want to know how do they get there and what time should they be there. And so that information should be pretty front and center on your church website. It should not be hard to find. The more time people have to dig around on your website to find the information they're looking for, the more likely they are to disconnect. And so a lot of this information that I'll be talking about really needs to be up front and center. And so especially when and where you meet is the first thing that most people are looking for when they visit your website. The next thing, which might be surprising, is leadership. It's actually one of the most visited web pages on church websites is the leadership. And so people are just wanting to know who the pastor is. They want a face, a name, maybe a bio, a little short description of who this person is. They want to know, do you have other staff, things like that. But people will generally, if they're checking out websites, if they're checking out churches and looking at their website, they're usually going to look for leadership to see, to know more about the church and who they are. And so that kind of leads into the next one is who you are as a church. And so this one's a little bit more vague, but generally, again, back to pictures. It's, you can make a website and you can use all stock photos, but people are going to be able to tell, first of all, that it's all stock photos. And it doesn't really give them an idea of who you are as a church. And so pictures of your people, of your church, of your services, of your ministries are really important on a church website to get people to understand what your church is about, who your church is, what they can expect when they walk through the doors. An about us page, maybe just a little bit of church history, who you are, your beliefs. That's another big thing that a lot of people are looking for. Maybe not necessarily the non-Christian who's just checking church out, but if people are coming from another church and they're church people, they have a church background, they have a core set of beliefs, they're going to want to know if you believe the same things that they do before they check you out. And then the final piece that is really important also is contact information. So people know how to get a hold of you. So that's another thing people are looking for when they're coming to your website. So if maybe they're trying to call the church office, maybe they're wanting to email the pastor, but just to have some basic contact information so people can get in touch with you with their questions is really essential on your website. And so with that in mind, there's a couple of different kind of options I want you to kind of think through tonight. And so the first would be a one-page website. And so this is what I'm encouraging everyone to do. If you don't have a church website and it just sounds like something you don't want to mess with, you don't want to deal with, at least consider doing a one-page website. And so this is the absolute easiest solution, just to put those 5 basic things on one page that people who are looking for your church can find that information. And so my recommendation for that is, again, Canva. Actually, this is something I didn't even realize Canva did until a couple weeks ago, is that you can do websites the same way that you design everything else. And so I'll show you a quick example really quick. Let me get out of this. I made a fake website for our church in about 15 minutes. So here's our church logo, a little description of our church, time and location. Again, where we meet, when we meet, Google Maps link there, our leadership, who the pastor is, with the link to email him, contact us, our address, phone number, email address, office hours, some links to our social media. And that's it. And all this is fully functional. Again, it took me 15 minutes because, again, I didn't start from scratch at a template. I dropped some pictures in, changed up the text to make it, actually the correct information. And there you go. It's live. You can go to it's the 7hills.my.canva.site, and you can look at it yourself. And so that's a really simple way to build a one-page website to get your church information. If you don't have anything, this is a huge step forward. And it may take you a little bit longer because I already had the pictures and things like that gathered, but it won't take you a lot of time just to get something together. And so that is one option. Another option that I just recently learned about, played with a little bit, is called card.co. And so it's very similar. They make one-page websites. Both of these, so with Canva, with the pro nonprofit version, that's free. Card is also free for their base level, and both of these allow you to use their URL. So again, like I said, it would be .my.canva.site if you use Canva, but you can go in and purchase a domain from Canva. So, yourchurchwebsite.com, and then Canva would host it. You design it there in Canva, and it's there's a little bit of cost with that. But at the very least, if you're saying, I don't have time for this, I don't have money for this, go into Canva, make a free website, host it on Canva, and just so that people have something to refer to when they're looking for your church website. Yeah, so, and I'll talk a little bit about domain names in a second. But let me see my notes real quick. So that's a basic one-page website that's low maintenance to no maintenance, right? You can put the information in there that doesn't change or that very, very rarely changes, so you don't have to think about it. But if you are looking to do something more engaging with your website, which I would recommend that you go beyond this, but that's a great option to start with. But there are a couple options for websites that are a little bit more complex, multiple pages and things like that. And so a couple that I would recommend would be Squarespace and Wix. And so for merged churches, I would recommend Squarespace. That's just a preference of, I've used Squarespace a lot. Our church website is on Squarespace. The BCNE website is on Squarespace. And if you go on the BCNE website and click around, there's a ton of pages, right? So that's something that I've kind of inherited as I've come onto staff, and there's a lot there, and that's just kind of shows you the power of Squarespace, is that you can have a simple 3-page website, or you can have lots of pages, you can have a blog, you can have all podcasting going on, all kinds of stuff, sell products, different things like that. There's a cost obviously with these products, and so Squarespace starts, I think, at $16 a month, which includes a free domain name. And so that's just kind of my general advice, is if you don't have a domain name already, is to whatever platform you go with, whether it's Canva, whether it's Squarespace, whether it's Wix. Wix is just to purchase the domain through them, because it just makes it simple. You don't have to try to connect it. It's already in the same system. Makes billing easier because you're paying for everything all at once in the same bill. So I would just recommend kind of go, and they're all roughly the same price. But again, that $16 per month includes the first year for free of a domain name with Squarespace. And kind of like Canva, it's more complicated than Canva, but they have tons of templates. It's a drag and drop system. You don't have to know how to code or anything like that. You can drag in pictures, drag in text, put things how you like it. It's a pretty easy to use platform. And then also the other benefit of going with something like one of these platforms versus hosting your own from scratch custom domain is that they keep it updated. So as things change, as technology changes, your website doesn't become super outdated and out of date. As far as the way it works great on mobile, it works great on desktop. Maybe the content gets outdated, but that's on you. The actual way the website functions, you don't have to do updates and things like that. And then once there is a little bit of effort, I guess is the word I'm looking for, involved with the setup. The initial setup's going to take some time, going to take a little bit of figuring things out. But once it's set up and running, it's incredibly easy to go in to make some quick updates and changes. Say if you want to, like on our website, we have our current sermon series, the title and the graphic for that, and it takes 2 seconds to go in and update that every time we change our sermon series. So it's really easy to update. You can also have multiple people have access to it, which is a nice feature too. So say, you have a youth page and you just say, hey, youth leader, here's a login. You keep this page up to date. I don't want to worry about it. And they can go in and do that. And so you can have different people kind of focusing on different areas of your website. And so like, again, at the BCNE website, we have multiple people that have access that can update their own pages and things like that. And then again, Wix is a very similar thing. You can check out either one, just kind of see which one has a better fit for you. But it's a very similar thing. But just kind of some general advice on some of these more complex websites is to not build a website that has elements that you don't actually have the time to keep updated. For instance, if you I think a lot of people get ambitious with new church websites and they add a lot of stuff that really fizzles really quickly. And so I've seen plenty of pastors blogs that have one post from 5 years ago that have never been updated again because they thought when they made that website, oh, that'd be really great, I want to start a blog, and they just never had the time or took the time to update it. Similar with a calendar. Calendars can be great on a church website if you keep them updated. Calendars aren't great if people go on there and the only thing is an event from 6 months ago. That's not a very good look. And so I would say shy away from things that need to be regularly updated unless you're going to actually spend the time to regularly update them. Yeah, and then another thing that if you think, well, it'd be nice to have one of these websites, but it's something it's a little bit overwhelming for me to set up, or I just don't have the time to set it up. Again, delegate that out, whether that is, first finding somebody in your congregation that can do it. I mean, there's probably somebody in your congregation that has a Squarespace website or helps maintain one for their work, for their, personal business, whatever. Or just somebody who's a little bit more tech savvy if you don't feel like you're comfortable doing it, that you could get to do it for you. And then if if there's nobody in your church, again, consider making the investment to hire someone to build a website for you. And when I say that, I don't mean necessarily hire someone who is like a web designer that would make a custom website for you, because that will it'll take longer, it'll cost more, and updating it for yourself won't be as easy. I would recommend getting somebody to still make you a Squarespace website or something similar. So that way you're just paying them for the setup initially. So they shouldn't be charging you too much because it's a platform that's pretty easy to use, pretty quick to set up. But they could get it set up for you. It'll be quick, and then they could turn it over to you to update, and then you could do all the updates as far as content on your own, because it's a pretty simple system. Especially once you have the website done, logging in and updating a page, changing the words is super simple. And so if you don't want to do it or don't feel comfortable doing it, if you don't have anything in your church, consider throwing a few $100s into this. Hire somebody to put this together for you. I think you'll get a lot of payoff for that investment down the road. Yeah, and again, like I said, purchase your domain name through whichever platform you're using is what I recommend, instead of dealing with a separate domain. You may be able to save a few bucks that way, but it's just going to be more complicated trying to get it connected. The only thing, maybe if you are trying to also get email addresses, custom email addresses, which again, it looks good. That's, it looks professional. I'd recommend that, is maybe considering doing those things at the same time. So we, at our church, our domain is elected through Google because we use Google for our email addresses, and it just makes it simple to do that. So you might consider doing that, but otherwise I would just get the domain through whichever company that you're going with your website. So yeah, I'm going to move on from websites and move into social media. And so today I'm going really broad with this. Digital media is a really broad category, and so I'm kind of going broad but not super deep. And so we may revisit some of these in future webinars, but I just kind of want to give some general advice and tips and resources for you to look into. So I want to start with 5 social media tips. And so these are just kind of my general advice for social media with a church. So first off is that less is more. And so as with most things in life, it's better to be really good at a few things than just mediocre at a lot of them. And so I would say this is true with social media, that it's better for you to be active and engaged with just a couple of platforms than to sign your church up for every single social media platform under the sun and never post on any of them, or maybe only post once every once in a while. That you just, because this can just be too much to manage, especially, again, I'm assuming most of us with churches in New England don't have somebody that's full-time doing this. And so really, I would really just recommend focusing on Facebook and Instagram. That's where the majority of people are on social media, possibly YouTube as well, if you're going to be generating video content or if you have a live stream. But really, Facebook and Instagram are where a lot of people are. They have the biggest audience. For instance, the number of active Facebook users is 5 times larger than Twitter, and then like tons of times larger than LinkedIn. And most of these people are also on multiple platforms. So it's really unlikely that you'd reach somebody like on LinkedIn or something that wouldn't be on Facebook. And so I would recommend putting your effort where the most people are, right? So you could have all these other platforms, but your reach is going to be smaller. It's going to take more of your time. And so I would just focus in on Facebook and Instagram. And the nice thing about them too is they're owned by the same company, so that you can manage them together. You can link your accounts and then you use the Meta Business Suite. So Meta is there, used to be Facebook, now it's called Meta, owns Facebook, Instagram, other things. You can use their business suite as kind of a backend for business pages to be able to post content to either Instagram or Facebook, to schedule content out and things like that. And it's really easy, simple and easy to use. And so speaking of schedules, that's my next thing, is to set a schedule. And so that's a great thing about using Facebook and Instagram and the Meta Business Suite is that you can schedule out posts really easily. And so there's actually like a calendar view where you can go in and set a schedule. So, okay, on this day, I'm going to post this, and you can upload all your stuff ahead of time and have it go out at whatever time you want. And so, sorry, I lost my notes on this. This is something that I think can really help you if, maintaining social media just seems daunting and overwhelming, like you don't have the time for it, is to really just be intentional to carve out some time to set up a routine of the types of content that you'd like to regularly post. And so you can kind of set like a template basically for your social media. For example, you could post a picture from Sunday services with a quote from the sermon every Monday. You could have like an engaging post every Wednesday, maybe asking for prayer requests. And then every Friday be posting like an announcement graphic or something like that. And so you have that kind of rhythm. So boom, 3 times a week, you have content going out, it's going out, and then you can post other stuff that's more organic, but you at least have some regular content going out. And then again, you can schedule that ahead of time. So theoretically, you could spend, a few hours every month setting up 80% of what's going to go out that month. So you make all your graphics in Canva, you kind of schedule it out. Okay, this day, I'm going to do this day. Oh, there's a holiday coming up. Oh, we're post about that. Oh, we're not having Sunday school on this day. I make a graphic for that and post it that Friday. So you just look at your calendar, set it all up, spend a little bit of time, and then you're done. For the whole month, your social media is kind of on autopilot. And again, you can post things more organically as they come up. You can respond to comments. But as far as actually putting content out, it's automatically happening for you because you set it up. And so batching that and, setting a time, okay, I'm going to do this right now, can really help you be a lot more effective and make sure it actually happens, rather than like, oh, I've got to remember every day, every other day, oh, I need to make a Facebook post. Oh, I got to do this. Oh, I got to do that. Just batch it all at the beginning of the month, schedule it out, and then most of your work will be done. Third tip is to know your platform. And so that's just being mindful of what kind of content you're posting, and kind of just understanding the platform that you're on. For example, if you're on Twitter, that's more of a conversation. So you're going to want to be more conversational with your content there. YouTube is, video focused. Facebook can be a mix. And then in general too, if you have multiple platforms, try to vary the content on each platform. So it's fine to post the same thing on both, but it's also a good idea to post different things as well on each to keep people engaged who are on both platforms. So say somebody follows you on Instagram and on Facebook, and if they're just seeing the same thing on both platforms, they may be more likely to tune you out if it starts to get repetitive. So just as an example, for instance, at the BCNE, the prayer requests that I talked about earlier, we post those on Instagram. We don't post those on Facebook. So we post Instagram prayer requests, constantly. And then we also have a blog at the BCNE, and we post articles on our Facebook. We don't post those on Instagram. And so there's a little, but then like announcements, we'll post on both. And so, there's some shared content, but there's also a mix of unique content for each platform. And we're just kind of leaning into the strengths of those platforms. Then next tip would be to know your audience. And so just as you're generating content, as you're making these posts, have a clear idea in your mind of who are you communicating to, and who are you actually trying to engage with. So is your audience your church members that you're trying to communicate announcements, things coming up, or are you trying to reach people in your community? And so you're posting more about community events, more about the gospel, things like that. And so either or both is fine, but you just want to make sure that you have it in mind as you're creating your content. It'll help you be more intentional with the things that you're posting. And then finally is to be real. And so again, when we're trying to create an online presence, we're trying to give people a glimpse into who we are as a church. And so don't try to be overly fancy. Don't try to be something that you're not. Be real. Be who your church is. Post pictures of people in your church. Videos of your pastor, testimonies of people from your congregation. Post content that's unique to your church, and that's the story that only your church can tell. And that's going to be a lot more engaging than just generic announcement posts or just pictures that. Just random pictures that don't have anything to do with your church. And so be real, tell your story, give people an idea of who you are as a church. So those are my social media tips for you. And then, so gonna wrap up and then move into Q&A time. Just kind of general tips for all of this is to keep it simple. This doesn't have to be complicated. I think a lot of churches don't do these things because it can seem complicated, it can seem overwhelming, but it doesn't have to be. You can keep it simple and still be consistent, still be putting out good content, but just stick with what you can manage. And that kind of goes straight to the next one, is to delegate. Do what you can, but if you need to do more that you can't do, delegate it. If you don't have, this isn't your thing, if you know this is important, but personally you really couldn't care about it, find somebody in church who has a passion about it and can do it for you. Empower people in your church to do these things. I think a lot of times too, we can be as church leadership really, holding the reins of like, well, we're, because people are communicating on behalf of your church, right? And you want to, hold the reins of like, I want to know exactly what's being communicated. But really empower your people, trust them, find somebody who's passionate about this, and delegate this over to them. And then, don't be intimidated. Is the last step. When you get all of these platforms that I've talked about are all really popular, widely used platforms. And so I know I didn't go super deep into them. And again, maybe we will do future webinars, but honestly, get on YouTube and you search for Squarespace, search for Canva, you can find all the information you need to figure out how to do something on all those websites. And then there's also in the resource sheet, I included 2 Facebook groups that I found really helpful that I'm a part of. One's called Church Creatives. The other one's called Canva for Churches. And they're just large groups that have a really active community of people that are making content for churches. And like Church Creatives specifically, that one sometimes these are mega churches that are like, we're shooting a music video and we want, this, $1,000 whatever, like, so, just kind of ignore those posts, but a lot of people are really helpful, posting questions, getting answers, getting inspiration, things like that. So again, those are just a couple of resources, couple of tips. So that is all I have. So we can move into questions if you guys have any.
Oh, they got some.
All right.
We've got questions.
Let me stop sharing my screen real quick.
All right.
All right.
That was great. Yeah, we had a good couple of comments. A great presentation. Very helpful. Very helpful. Somebody did mention that one of the things that they did about their website is they had approached a vocational school web design class,
Mhm.
and they were happy to help them with their web design. So if you have
Yeah.
that opportunity, that might be something to look into.
Yeah, that's a great tip. And again, I mean, absolutely. If you can get that help, be just cautious though of what kind of website you're having somebody design for you, because if they design a website that looks really great, but then you personally can't update it yourself,
Correct.
then
Yes.
that's going to be a challenge. So just make sure that, if you're going to be updating your website, you want to post new content, that you're able to do it yourself. And so but you definitely get the help if you can get it. So.
Oh, absolutely. And I was going to say that it's great to have the help, but you got to be able to maintain it, because again, I liked what you called it, that your website is your front door, and people are going to be looking just like they go to a restaurant. They go look at the menu. They're going to be looking at your menu.
Right. Yep.
And if you don't, for example, your pastor's sermons, if there's nothing there, that's another place that is good for churches to have that type of information on there, so that they can hear, the type of sermons that are preached at your church.
Yeah, that's definitely, I mean, yeah, we didn't get into that today, but definitely, because that is kind of a next level beyond some of this is,
Correct.
posting sermons, live streaming, that kind of stuff. But it's a time investment, it's a money investment, but especially after COVID, we started a live stream at our church because of COVID, as most churches did.
That's
but
right.
I mean, we keep it up now, right? Most of our visitors have at least watched one service online before they ever came.
Yeah. And we get more people. We did the same thing, and we get more people come because they can hear our pastor's sermons. So I think that's really good. And before COVID, we had them via audio. Now we have them video. And that's really helpful too, because one of the things in ours is when they go back, they can see how many people are there. So they can see if you have a big church or a little church or whatever. So that's always helpful. Somebody's asked about what's a rule of thumb about social media posts? You mentioned 3 times a week. Would you say that was the rule of thumb, or?
I feel like that answer could probably change depending on who you ask. There's definitely, because you can get, I think, a little bit into the weeds with like trying to game the algorithm, and like, what's the current Facebook algorithm, and what time of day do I need to post, and how many times, and what kind of and there's there's truth to that too. You're going to get results, but I think if you're trying to do that can get overwhelming, right? If you're trying to constantly game the algorithm. And so I would say really whatever is manageable. I would say at least a few times a week to have an active presence, because again, you post 3 times a week, that doesn't mean everybody's going to see all 3 posts. And so if you only post once a week, if they happen to be on social media that day at the right time, that the algorithm's going to pop that into their feed, they may not see it. So I would say consistent. Also see, is there an amount that's too much? Yes, there's probably a limit. If you're posting every hour, you don't want to post so much content that one piece of content is basically overshadowing another. So like, for instance, if you post something and then you post something else right on top of it, usually whatever platform you're on is only going to push really one of those things. So if you put an announcement post and then like a baptism picture, and maybe people are liking the baptism picture, and that's great, and you're getting a lot of engagement on that, well, the algorithms are just going to keep pushing that, and that announcement post is going to fade in the background and nobody's going to see it. And so so just to be intentional. Again, like, you could get into algorithms and all that stuff, but I think just what you can manage, but be consistent with it.
Right. And I like what you said, and do different things, because you should. And I know we had gotten into kind of a regular rhythm of doing announcements. and you really try to need to use some other ways to engage people, like either prayer requests or what's a good piece of advice your mom gave you or something like that.
Yep.
To kind of mix things up. So again, think about that. And I really appreciated what you said, is we need to get more people involved, and you'd be surprised. I mean, you may not be Facebook or Instagram, but there may be somebody that would love to do that if they knew it was a need. So again, we should be telling our churches, members or even friends of the church, if they've been friends for a long time and they have that, gift, why not let them help?
Yeah,
when it comes to some of that type of stuff. So I think that's important. Also, are there good templates in Wix? Have you looked at Wix at all that you would know if
I
they have good church templates?
I haven't done a ton in Wix. Again, it's another one I know. Again, I have a lot of experience with Squarespace. I'm assuming just like Squarespace, and I could be wrong, actually. I would recommend just going on the website and looking around. But like Squarespace doesn't have templates for churches necessarily,
Right.
but they have templates that churches can use. They're generally just kind of generic templates that anybody could do. I mean, they do, they kind of have like, well, this one's kind of geared more towards a restaurant, or this one, but all of them just kind of have a look that you can change up. So, but again, I mean, maybe Wix, it does have like a specific section for churches. I'm not sure, but definitely just go. I mean, on either of these, just go on the websites. You can get free trials of things. You can play around. So you can build this website on Squarespace for free without ever actually launching it, and just play around, see what it looks like, see if you like it, see if it's manageable. If you're like, this, it's too overwhelming, or I don't like how this is turning out, then, move on.
Right. The other thing I like to do is just go to other people's websites and see what I like, and then bring that over. I don't use Squarespace or the other one, but the one that we use at our church, because I manage the website. I'll call up customer service sometimes if I'm trying to figure out how to do something, and they're pretty helpful. So, and I don't know how customer service is at Squarespace, but a lot of those website providers, have something there. So,
which again is because you're paying a platform rather than having a custom website that you're hosting yourself that you don't have any customer support for.
Right. Somebody asked about QR codes on websites. What do you think about that?
Yeah, so I mean, QR codes, there are really ways to get to websites, not necessarily on websites, but they're great. Okay. And again, that's something that Canva has an easy. So it's they have like apps, and so there's a QR code app, and so you literally type in whatever URL you want it to link to. You can change up the colors. You can add a little logo inside, and you just and drag it over onto your design. And so I've recently designed a couple of like postcards for the BCNE, made little QR codes, just slapped them on. Took me 5 seconds to do. I think they're great. I mean, QR codes have been around for a long time, but they're definitely becoming more in the mainstream. And so they just make it easier in a mobile society, especially, than to type out a long URL. Like, for instance, our church, I wasn't around when we got this. We have the longest church URL ever. It's thechurchon7hills.com. It's all spelled out. So my email address is like this long, but a QR code, especially so, thechurchon7hills.com/whatever, that's a lot to type in on somebody's device. But if you have a QR code, boop, you do it. So we have a digital worship guide. And so you can get there at thechurchon7hills.com/today. That's a lot to type in, but we have little stickers on the backs of our pews that you can just scan a QR code, and it takes you right there. And so, yeah, I would say it's a great resource to have if you've got room for it on whatever design you've got. I would say you don't have to have it on every single thing you make, but on things that make sense. I think especially print things, I wouldn't necessarily put it on social media stuff, because you can put links on social media, right? So, and rather than them scanning a QR, and they're usually looking at it on the device that they would scan the QR code with. So it doesn't really make sense in a digital space as much as it makes sense in a physical space. So if you're printing anything, so if you're printing stickers or postcards or signs or whatever, QR code's a great little thing to slap on there.
Right. And then one last question. Somebody asked if you're ever available to look at their website, if they wanted to send you their link so that you could look at it and kind of.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, again,
Yeah.
I'm part-time, so I may not be immediate, but I can definitely, I'd love to help. That's what I'm here for. That's why we're doing this webinar, is because I want to be
Right.
a resource for you guys. So definitely.
Right.